On our journey to build a complete LinkedIn clone with the same technologies they use, in our previous front-end video, we have implemented our authentication system. So we were able to sign in, we were able to forget our password using an email token, we were able to sign up a user. Let me actually show you the sign up process. Say at example.com and my password is going to be Yusuf. Agree and join. So as you can see, user has been registered into our database and the backend has also sent an email. So we grab the token, we paste it and we validate and we are on the homepage. While the general layout of the LinkedIn homepage looks like this, in this video, we are going to take it to the next level. Earlier, I've showed you that a user is being able to access the homepage of LinkedIn simply after validating its email. But that's not the case on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, after registration, they are going to be asking you information about you so that they adapt the platform content to you. So that's the first thing that we will be doing in this video. We will make sure that after the registration, we validate the email as before, but we will also be asking information. Let me show you what it would look like at the end of this video. So we are going to register again because I deleted the previous user from the database, and then I'm going to say Yusuf. I'm going to say agree and join. So an email is going to be sent to me like before. So if I come here, so there's this new email that's been sent. So I grab the token, I validate, and then before accessing the homepage, they're going to be asking me we're going to be asking information to the user. So I'm going to add, let's say, my first name, then my last name. As you can see, we will be building this multi-step form that's very, very good looking. Like if I remove this, I cannot even click. So we'll be thinking about all these small user experience things. Then we come here and they are going to ask us about our latest company. So let's say I work at Docker. I'm not inspired. And my position was a HR manager. Okay. And then I hit next. Then it will be asking my information. Let's say I live in New Delhi, India. So later in upcoming videos, we will make sure that this location actually is a valid one. We'll be making HTTP calls to make sure that it's a valid one. Okay, for now, we're gonna trust the user. Then now, if I submit, I'm gonna be shown the homepage that's also gonna be changing completely. So I hit submit and that's how it looks like. Since we didn't define a picture, we have a default one. We will be handling uploading pictures in upcoming videos. As you can see, we have something that's very, very similar to the LinkedIn feed, the homepage of LinkedIn. So there are posts that are coming from our database. Like if I show you actually the actual network call that's being made upon loading the page. So as you can see, we have grabbing the authenticated user, but also we have this feed URL that's sending us all these posts. Okay, each post we have its author, we have the likes of this post. We actually have built the backend side of the feed feature in the previous video. So if you are interested, the link of the playlist is going to be down below. And just to remind you, the backend is being built with Java, like on the actual LinkedIn using a Spring Boot. I'm going to be showing you the playlist and how you would watch the series if you are new in a bit. So for now, let us focus on what we will be building on the homepage. So that's what we'll be having. So we'll be having posts and we can like them. Okay. Now it's saying you enter others like this. We can dislike a post. Every time we'll be making HTTP calls to persist the changes in our database. On this tab, I am logged in with another user. He's called Jando, and Jando can actually make a post. For example, let's say, hi there, and he can give us a image URL. As I said, we will be handling image uploading in upcoming videos. For now, we ask for a URL. Let's say he just posts without any image. Okay, so he would see it here after uploading, but if he refreshes the page, he won't be seeing his own posts, which is normal because on LinkedIn you don't see your own post, which would be annoying. Okay, but I have created this filter where we would see all the posts so that we also see our own post. Okay, so if I come back here on the other user tab, if I refresh, okay, now I see the new page posts that Jando has made. I'm refreshing to see the changes because we will be handling real-time updates in upcoming videos, also being able to send notifications. Okay, for now we have to refresh it. So Jando can edit its post. Let me actually grab an image here. Okay, copy image address and come back here, and I'm gonna edit my post. Let's say I paste an image and I'm gonna say my post now is going to be Lorem Ipsum. Okay, I post it, so I see it's edited, and if I come back on the other user tab and I refresh, so as you can see, it's saying that now it's edited and the text has changed. I can like it. Okay, so it's saying you liked this. If I refresh here, as you can see, it's saying Yusuf liked this. I can also comment. Let's say, hi John. I send, and if John refresh the page, he is able to see my comments. Okay, I can edit my comment. Okay, let's say, hi John, how have you been? Paste. If I refresh, so I've got this, the new text, and it's saying also it's edited. Okay, so we'll be building all of this, and also the LinkedIn header. So we would set up all the routes for upcoming videos. So as you can see, we have the messaging, the notification. We can also open this very good looking pop-up where we can go to the settings and privacy, where we will be handling things like dark and light mode. I can also sign out, and everything is going to be responsive as well. So if I go to small screens, as you can see, at some point the left and right side are going to disappear, and also the menu is going to be like this. So we can open it like so, and we can open the profile like this, and we'll be thinking of a lot of small details. Like I showed you that someone can edit its own post. Like when it's my own post, I have this button, but for other posts, like I don't even have it. Okay, while we protect someone from editing a post that he do not own on the backend side, we also think of it on the UI side. Okay, so I'm very glad we will be learning a lot about how to make very beautiful components like this without using any pre-built library. Okay, we'll be building all of this with CSS by hands, and also learn more about React, how to handle like very complex states, like having a post that have likes and that have comments, how to make sure to update the post after a like has been made and also a comment has been posted. Okay, how to make sure that the user has a instantaneous feedback while making post on the background. So we'll be thinking of topics like optimistic updates. So as I was saying earlier, the link of the playlist is going to be down below. And if you are someone that's interested both in backend development with Java and Spring Boot and front-end development with React.js, you can watch all of the videos of this series. If you are only interested in the backend side, you can watch all the videos where we have this backend tag on the thumbnail. And if you're interested only on the front-end side, watch the front-end tags. In a few of them, we'll be having the full stack tag, but these are not going to be long videos, so that both of you guys can watch it without being bored by one or the other topic. Also, you will be finding the GitHub link of the project in the description below, where we have commit per video, except for the last one where I added the setup documentation. So if you don't feel like starting to watch the series from the beginning, you can just grab the repo and go to the commit where we are, like on this video, and follow up. Let me go to the GitHub repo and clone the project. So it is at like so, and I'm gonna clone it. Go to my desk. So I'm gonna go into the front-end folder and open it with Visual Studio Code. Can close this one. So as it is explained on the setup documentation, we need to run our backend first. Okay, so for that I'm gonna go into the parent folder, then go to the backend, and first thing first, I'm gonna start our Docker containers. So we have our database and our Mailhawk, the SMTP server for receiving and sending emails. So it's up and running. Then I'm gonna go again into the backend and run our server. In this video I am not gonna be using the automatic restart of the backend because we will not be changing the backend files. Okay, everything that we need has been done in the previous backend video, as I said. So it's gonna be a gradual boot run, like so. And finally we are going to start our front end. First we need to install all the packages, then run dev, like so. So this is going to make the project run here. I'm gonna grab this URL and I'm gonna have a two-part screen, like so. We forgot actually to copy the .env.example in a .env file. You can do it manually or using the command line here, whether you are on a Linux or on a Windows. Okay, so I'm gonna copy it like so. So I have my .env file and I'm logged in as John Doe. That's because before, since we didn't have this .env, like the request to the backend was not passing even though I had a token in my storage. So the first thing that we want to do is to create this header, okay, to go from this boring one to this one. Okay, so we also need to set up the routes, the remaining routes of the application. In the previous video we only had the routes for the authentication. So let us go to the main where we have our routes, and we are going to have two layouts, like a layout of the authentication system feature and a layout for the application. Because if you remember guys, the authentication didn't have this header. It had a very simple header like this one. It also had this footer. So let us grab all of this, okay, and here we're gonna have actually two children. The first one is going to be mapped to path and it's going to be to authentication. Okay, not login but just authentication, like so. And here we'll be having a children array which will contain everything that we had under the authentication before. Okay, and here we'll be rendering as element the authentication layout. I'm gonna actually disable GitHub Copilot because it is very annoying. Authentication layout, like so. And we need to import this one. So if you remember guys, we had this authentication layout but we used it in a, like, to some extent bad way, meaning we added in each page, like so. Like we have repeated this in all the authentication pages, like so. That's not a cleaner way of doing, right? So I'm gonna actually just use here divs. As you can see, we have nothing because we don't have an element so far. So here it's gonna also be a div, here as well. So here a div, here it's a div now, here also the login page, a div as well. So now we're gonna go into our components folder and I'm gonna actually rename this one to authentication layout because we're gonna be having an application layout as well. When we had only one layout, it was okay to call it layout, but now we need to have something that's more self-explanatory. so. Dot model to the CSS, and I'm gonna rename it here as well, and then I'm gonna import it like so. Yeah, there's one thing that I'm gonna change as well, so we don't need this class name anymore. So I'm actually gonna use just like this. And now actually we are not seeing anything because we don't have a map for the for the home. Okay, so that's what we will be doing here. We're gonna say, why it's still yelling? Ah yeah, sorry, I know why. Because earlier actually we were rendering the pages like as part of as with the children properties, because we were literally calling this one in each page. Now we actually want a React router DOM to render the children, like the pages. For that, so we shouldn't be using the children, but here we're gonna call the outlet from the React router DOM, like so. And so far we're not seeing anything, which is normal because we don't have a mapping for the home page. So let us come back here, and I'm actually gonna paste it because it's very straightforward, and I don't want you watch me type all of this. It's gonna be a waste of your time. So here, actually below here, we are everything that's the URL that are gonna be starting with authentication will be rendered with this layout, and these paths are these ones. Okay, and then we also have a path that start with the slash, and it's gonna be rendered using the layout, and these are its children. We have the index, which is going to be our feed, the network, which is going to be the page where we have our networks and so forth and so on. And then we also have the profile where we show the profile of the user. For now, we don't have this feed. I'm just gonna render a div. Okay, it's going to be called feed, like so. And then we need to create this application layout. For that, we're gonna go into our components folder here, and we're gonna create it. .model and I'm gonna say React functional component and generate it like so. And this application layout, he is the one that's gonna render our header. Okay, for now let's say just header, and we're gonna say header like so, and then we'll render a main which is going to render the pages from React router DOM. So in here I'm actually gonna use a container class container, because if you remember, on the final result, the application is not taking all the width on bigger screens. Okay, at some point we are blocking it, and that's how it's done also on the actual LinkedIn. Coming back, we need to first thing first import our application layout. Okay, and also the feed is not being rendered by the authentication layout anymore. As you remember, we are gonna be having it here. Okay, so let me add it back. Actually, we can grab this one and we're gonna add it here. Okay, like so, and we're gonna remove it from here. And we are still not seeing anything because actually there is a problem. With create React router, if you nest routes, like here, we are nesting login sign up in these two within this. So this is like having later on authentication, and then we'll be having login. So these are nested routes within this authentication. And if that is the case, the path actually should be relative. Like here we are using an absolute path. This is actually the problem. If we look into our console here, you're going to see that it's saying there is an absolute route pass login nested under authentication. Okay, so we should fix that. So it should be login. Here also it's going to be sign up, request verify email. Also here will be changing them like so. So this will be actually nested within this slash. So now we have our page that's being visible. If I log out, you're going to see that our web page is going to be broken. So that's something that we need to fix now. Because if you remember, in our authentication video, in our front-end authentication video, we are redirecting to the login when we log out, okay, when we don't have a token. But we used to change actually these routes. Now it should be under authentication / login. So for that, we're going to go into our authentication provider here, and here, instead of redirecting to the login, now we should be redirecting to the authentication login like so. Also here it's going to be authentication / verify email. Here these, they're going to be also authentication / request / password. So all of these like so. We save them. I hope I didn't miss anything else anymore. So now if I actually go back here on the home page, so we are getting the sign-in page. So our authentication provider is redirecting to the right URLs, but our these buttons, they also need to be fixed. Okay, so for that we're gonna go into the authentication, and here it should be to authentication request password to authentication / sign up. Okay, within the sign up here, it should go to the authentication login like so. Sorry, the verify email. Okay, we don't have one here. In the request reset password, do we have a link? So we don't have. Okay, we are good now. And then there's one last thing that we should do here in our main here. We're gonna say that instead of showing like this 404 that's coming from the React router, then by default we either need to have our own 404, but for now we are just gonna redirect it. Okay, so we're gonna say anything that's not matched by these routes, like anything that's not matched by this route, we should redirect it to the home page. So now I'm gonna import this from React router and save. So as you can see, now our forgot password is working, our join now is working, so we are good to go. And let me sign again, so with Jendo, and we can now work on the header. So let us go into our feed, and here we shouldn't be rendering this header anymore here, okay, because it's going to be rendered by the application layout, as I said earlier. So here we're going to be rendering a header component like so, and we're going to create it. Okay, so here .tsx, and then header.model.scss. And let us import it. Sorry. Like so. And it's not rendering anything. Let's say for now it's gonna render header, so that we make sure it's being rendered. So now that we know that it is being rendered, we are gonna here render an actual HTML header, so we have a semantic markup later on, and then within this header, we will be having a div with the container class. So if you remember here, like the header is all of this, but within the header we have the container that has a blocked width. So that's what we will be doing with this container div. And then this container div is going to have a div with the class of left, okay, for the logo and also for the search param. And then it's going to have another one that's going to be right, sorry, like so. Within the left side we'll be having the navigation link from navlink, yeah, from React Rotterdam. And actually, and within this navlink, let me import it. So we should tell that it should redirect to the home page when we click on the logo. And here we are going to render the logo of LinkedIn, okay? So this logo, I've actually inspected the actual LinkedIn page and I have grabbed it. So it's this SVG. As you can see, it's black now. We're going to change it using CSS in a bit. And then we will be having also an input, okay? And the placeholder is going to be a search. And the size is going to be, let's say, medium. And as you can see, this input is actually coming from the authentication components folder. That's because when we are working on the authentication, we said that this input is only going to be visible on the authentication pages. But while I was working on the feed, I thought that instead of creating another input for the application, we can just add some checks and some props to customize the one that's in our authentication folder. So for that, we're gonna actually grab it from here, okay, and add it in our application container components folder here. We're gonna move it, say yes. So hopefully like it has changed the path. So before our input had only one size, okay? Now we need multiple, like different sizes, because here the input size actually is much, like it's smaller than on the authentication. So for that we will be going in our input here, and we're gonna say that we will be also having a size property, which is going to be also optional, and it's going to be either small, medium, or large, like so. And we're going to grab it here, like so, and render it. So before we had our root, and then we also would have, we're going to be rendering actually this size. We'll be having a class for this. So here we're going to grab the class. If we have a size, we're going to grab the size. Otherwise, we'll be rendering the large. So this way we won't break what we had on the authentication pages, okay? By default, it's going to be large. So let us define the CSS. Here, instead of having a padding that's global, we're actually going to remove it, and we'll be having a padding on each class, okay? When we have the large, the padding should be of 1 rem. When we have the medium, the padding should be like this, and the font size should be smaller. So as you can see now, it has changed. And last thing is we also need the small one. Save it. And also, if we look here, the width, like it's not always 100%. Sometimes we need to give a custom width, okay? So that's what we will be doing. So here, we're not gonna render the width here, but we are going to grab it from the props, and we're going to say that our input, so our input here is going to have a style prop, and we are going to render the width. Sorry, it's going to be width like this, and we're going to say if we have a width that's coming from the props, we want to render it. Okay, so we're going to say width, and we're going to say pixel, and if we don't have one, we will be rendering like 100%. So that's it for our input. Let us come back to our header. So in the right side, we will be having, like, if I grab the final result here and add it for small screens, because we'll be actually doing mobile first design. So as you can see on mobile, we have in the right side, we have the menu, like the hamburger menu, and also this component which shows the user profile data. Okay, so these are the two buttons that we will be having. So let me actually paste the first one, the button. Okay, it's going to be rendering a SVG that I have grabbed from Font Awesome. Okay, let me come back here. So it's this SVG, and I have this text which saying menu. Also, I'm going to be defining these two states in a bit, like a state for showing the navigation menu, because as you can see here, the navigation menu is rendered like this, and also a state for showing this pop-up. Okay, so we are going to be needing these two, and I'm going to be creating them in a bit. And then here we're also going to say that if we have a user, we want to render this profile component that we will be defining in a bit as well. So first, let us actually get rid of this error that's saying there is no user. So the user is actually going to be coming from our authentication context. Okay, so I'm going to import it. So we have our user. Then we're going to be defining our two states. The first one is for showing the profile menu. Okay, it's going to be a state. And then we also going to be having the show navigation menu state. But this one, we want it to be slightly dynamic, in the sense that if we have a screen that's bigger than this number, by default we want it to be opened. Okay, so save. And now the only error that we have is for this profile component, and this profile component is not going to be anywhere on the application. So we could user add it on the like components here, but since I thought it's very linked to the header here, I'm going to add it in the header component. So I'm going to create a components folder. So new folder, and I'm going to call it components. Okay, and I'm going to create the profile component. Is going to be .tsx, and then create its style. Okay, file.module.tsx, create it, and I'm going to say for now just the profile. Okay, and we are going to import it like so, and we need to define actually these props. Okay, so this, I'm going to actually copy the type of the set show navigation. Like, why we are passing this set show navigation in the first place? Because if like I have my navigation menu opened and then I click on this one, I actually want to close the navigation and open this one. So that's why we are passing it. So we need to define this as part of a prop. How we do that? So I actually do it like in a like I cheat, because I just check the type here, and I'm gonna add it on the profile. Okay, and here I'm gonna say I'm gonna create an interface, and I'm gonna say it's going to be profile props like so, and we'll be having a how did I call it? So it says show menu, and it's going to be of this type. Let me actually, instead of, I like to import it instead of using React dot. I think it's slightly more easier to read. So here For now, let us just say it's going to be props. Okay, so now hopefully the first error has gone. Okay, now we need the same thing for the second one. We're gonna say set, and it's going to be a like so. And did I do something wrong? Like so. And why it's yelling? Ah, okay, sorry, my bad. This is actually a boolean. This is just a boolean because they show menu profile like so. And this one is the one I was looking for. So coming back to my profile, it should be of this type like so. Now like this has gone. So coming back, so something is wrong. Okay, we need to create the profile.model. It should be a CSS, my bad, like so. So now we have our menu, we have our profile, but first I'm gonna get rid of the content of the feed, okay, because I don't want to see these anymore. I'm also gonna get rid of the styles because the feed is gonna be different from now on. As you can see, it should be like this at the end, so we don't need these placeholders anymore. So coming back to the header style, so here we're gonna go into our header.model.css, and we're gonna set some styles first on the root, like on the actual HTML header component here. So our root is going to be, first thing first, have like this gray border and a background that's going to be of this color. Hit save, and nothing has changed. Like we are seeing the border but not the background, because actually here if you look, like either like on the LinkedIn project, the background is like slightly gray. Okay, so that we will be adding it here in our index.css. Okay, we're gonna say that our HTML will be having this gray background. So now as you can see, the header, the background of the header is being visible. Coming back to the header, our header is actually going to be having, like the elements in our header will be having a slightly like transparent color, as you can see here. So as you can see, they are not very black. So that this is the first thing. Then they are also slightly smaller. Okay, and we want our header to be at the top always. So we're going to use the position sticky, and with the top equal to 0, and we're going to give some z index, so we make sure it's always at the top. Okay, because as you can see, it's sticky. Okay, then I'm going to add the styles of the container that's wrapping the left and the right div. Okay, so it's going to have a max width of 74 rem, so that it would be blocked at some point while the header itself is taking all the available width. Okay, so if we look here, let me actually log in with John, and the password was John as well. Okay, so now we would also be able to see the like on the desktop view. So coming back, first thing first, we're gonna say that our logo is going to be having a width of 3 rem, also a height of 3 rem. Okay, and we're going to say that the SVG that's within this logo is going to be having a color of the primary color. So as you can see now, it's looking quite good. And then we are going to grab the left side. Okay, the left side is the div where we have this logo in the input. So we're going to grab it, and we're going to say it's going to be having a display of grid. It's going to have some gap. I'm going to add 1 rem, and we will be having 2 columns. So we're going to use the grid template columns. We'll be having auto for the logo and 1FR for the input. So we want the input to take all the available width. Okay, and also we're going to use align items to center it. Okay, so now as you can see, it's centered. So our container is also a grid that has 2 columns, and our left also is a grid. Okay, so that's why we have like this grid that's being done by the container and this grid that's being done by the left wrapper. Okay, and here we are using this position relative because if you see here, like these pop-up, they are positioned absolutely depending on the header. Okay, so this is why we need, like, depending on the container within the header, so we're going to be positioning them like depending to this. That's why we have this position relative. Okay, at the right side, so is going to be a display of flex. It's going to have align items of center as well, and it's also going to be having some gap of 1. Then I'm gonna grab the toggle like this, the menu, and I'm gonna say that it should be of display flex, and like before it looked like this. There was like a lot of space between the two, but now I want it to be like so. And also all the SVGs that are going to be within our header, they will be having a fixed width in like in the same height. Okay, so now as you can see, it's smaller. So although we have our menu, and when we click we are toggling our state, there's nothing that's being shown because we actually don't have the navigation links still. Okay, so here we're gonna say that when the show navigation link is true, okay, we'll be rendering something here. Okay, I'm gonna paste it so you don't watch me type it because it's gonna be a waste of your time. So, and then explain what it contains. Okay, so if we have, we're gonna render this UL, otherwise we render nothing. Okay, and what this UL that I just pasted contains, so it's a UL that contains LEs. Okay, and each LE contains a navigation link from the React Router DOM, and for each of them I have this SVG that I have inspected the actual LinkedIn to grab it. Okay, and then we would have a span that states the name of the page where it is redirecting. Okay, and then what we are doing is that when we click on one of these, okay, when we click on one of these, we would have change, like let me click actually on the home. As you can see, I'm going on the home page, but before going there I need to close the profile menu if it is opened before. Like the profile menu is the menu that's here. Okay, like this one. Okay, if I click on one of these, I want to close all the menus that are out there. Like for the profile, I'm just gonna close it right out of the box, but for the navigation menu I want to close it only if I am on a mobile view. Okay, so that's what we are doing here, and that logic we are doing it for every navigation link, and every navigation link contains an SVG with a span. Okay, so as you can see, all of them they are similar, like they are the same thing. Okay, every time we have the two, like where they are redirecting, and also we are setting an active class name. Like the React Router DOM, when you use a nav link instead of a sample link, you're going to be able to have this is active prop where it's true when you are on the actual page. So when it is true, I'm rendering a active class that's coming from our classes, and otherwise we render nothing. That actually what help us have, let me show you, like this color that's being changed. Like if I go on the home, it's becoming blue. Okay, we are going to say that it's true by default, so just to style it. Okay, so for now I'm gonna say it's true by default. So now we have this very bad looking navigation that we need to fix. So we come here, and I'm gonna say that the UL that's rendering all these LEs, it should have a position of absolute. This is why we had this relative here on the container. Okay, and also we would make it like 5 rem from the top. Okay, on the right side it should be positioned at 1 rem. It should have a background color of white like the header. It also should have the same border, also a small border radius is going to be of 0.3 rem, so as you can see, like so. And actually I'm gonna go here on the our reset here, and I'm gonna remove all the list style. Okay, I'm gonna say none. So now as you can see, they are gone. So coming back here, I'm gonna add some padding. Let's say it's going to be 1 rem. I'm gonna define a width. So here I'm gonna say it should be like of 18 rem. Okay, but if we want, like I'm sure that there will not be a screen size that's gonna be smaller than 18 rem, but what I want to do is that I am gonna play safer. Okay, so I'm gonna use the min, and I'm gonna say if the screen that I am on is smaller than 18 rem, okay, we're gonna use 100% of this screen. Okay, it's like very unlikely, but just to show you that we have this hack to make sure that if we are on a screen that's smaller than this, we're gonna just render 100% of the screen. Okay, then we're gonna say it's gonna be a display of grid, and it's going to be having some gap between the LED that are within so this element. And also then we're gonna come back here, we're gonna grab the link that are within here. So as you know, the nav link from React Rotterdam is going to be rendering an actual HTML link at the end, as you can see. Close it, and I'm gonna actually grab this link, and I'm gonna say it's going to be having a display of flex, so that I align actually the text in the icons. Okay, so I'm gonna say align item center. I'm gonna add some gap between them, like so. As you can see, it's looking good now. And I say that when I hover on one of these links, I'm gonna change actually the color from being slightly transparent to black. Okay, so now as you can see, it is changing. And the SVG, like the color of the SVG, is also changing when I use this sample color, because I have actually, like, let me show you here, I'm rendering the SVGs within the HTML markup. Okay, and I have set this fill to current color, so this will actually make you use the color of the text for the SVG as well. And this won't work if you are adding your SVG as part of an image. Okay, if you are like using an image to render the SVG, it won't work. It should be like here. That's why I am having them here actually, although it's making the markup quite long. That's actually how it's done on the actual LinkedIn as well. Then we're gonna define the style for the active. Okay, so we're gonna say that when we have the active class on a link, we want to change its color. We're gonna use the primary color, and by doing that, as you can see, the home has changed. If I go to the network, so this one is going to be highlighted. Okay, so now that we have it working on mobile screens, we need to design it for bigger ones. Okay, so on bigger screen we need something like this instead of what we have here. So for that, we're gonna come back here, and we're going to define a media query. Okay, so here I'm gonna say when we go like to a screen that's bigger than this number, we will do some stuff. Okay, the first thing that we will be doing, let me make it bigger so you see like the changes on live. Okay, we're gonna say that our left side is going to be having a display of grid. Like we already had a grid, so we can keep it in just to change the columns. Okay, so before we said that this logo is going to be having a like auto in term of column, and this one should take all the available remaining width. Okay, but I want it to be actually small. It's like slightly smaller. That's why I'm gonna now define 3 columns. Okay, so the first one is going to be auto as before for the LinkedIn logo, and then the input is going to be taking like 0.7 rem, and the remaining 0.3 rem are going to be just like there will be nothing that will fill this 0.3 rem. Okay, yeah, it's I intended to say actually FR, like fraction instead of rem. Okay, it should be a fraction like we did here. Okay, so now as you can see it's slightly smaller. Then we're gonna grab our right side, okay, and we're gonna make the gap slightly bigger. Instead of 1 rem we want it to be 2 rem. Okay, then we are gonna grab the links that are within our UL. So we're gonna say UL A, and I'm gonna change the select direction to like column. Okay, so now we have them like top to bottom, and then we're gonna remove the gap that we added. Okay, then I'm gonna grab the actual UL where we had the position absolute in all here. So I'm gonna reset that. I'm gonna say that the position now is going to be just relative. Okay, and then we're gonna say that it's going to be a display of flex, so that things are next to each other. Okay, I'm gonna say that it's gonna have align items of center as well. The width, we, if you remember, added an absolute like a fixed width. Okay, we don't want that anymore, so we're gonna revert it to auto like so. As you can see, it has room for it. And then we're also gonna have some gap, the same as on the right, like so that the gap between the elements between these are the same as the gap between the buttons that are outside, even though on the outside we're simply gonna be having 1 button, because we're gonna actually remove this one later on. For now, we're gonna keep it. Okay, so then we're gonna say that the background should be also transparent. We don't need this background anymore. We're also gonna remove the border. We're gonna say that the top should be 0 instead of 5. The right should also be 0. Okay, and we're gonna remove the padding that we added as well. So now as you can see, it is like within the header itself. And then we're gonna say that our toggle, like this toggle, like now if I actually click on this, it's going to remove our navigation link, and we don't that on bigger screen. We don't want that on bigger screen, so I'm gonna remove it. The toggle, I'm gonna say, should be a display of none, like so. So now we only, like on bigger screens, we only have our profile. And as you can see, this messaging is actually being like blocked on the screen because we need to define some styles on our authentication layout, not authentication layout, on the application layout, sorry, here. So here we will be having some styles. We're gonna say, we're gonna grab the root, okay, and we're gonna grab the container that's within this root, and we're gonna say it should have a max width of 74 rem. Like on the header, it should have a width of 100%, because I'm gonna be actually defining some I'm gonna apply display grid on the root. This is why I'm needing this width, because it's gonna get smaller. So I'm gonna say that it should have a margin of 0 in auto and a padding of 1 rem. So as you can see now, if I go on bigger screens, it is blocked here. And here I'm gonna say that the root is gonna be having a min height of 100 view weight, okay, because I actually want to define a display grid here, and then say that I'm going to be having like two rows actually. The first one is going to be for my header, and the main component should take all the available width, okay. So if we look in our markup here, we have the header at the top and the main that's below, and by doing that we make sure that our page is taking all the available height all the time, and that our header here is going to be taking the smallest height possible, and the remaining is going to be taken by our main component, okay. So that's it. And if you have noticed, we have a bug here. So when we go on bigger screens, the toggle menu, like when we have it opened like this and we go on bigger screens, it's working. But if it was closed and we go on bigger screens, we are not seeing our elements. Why? Because we are not how I can say it, we are not watching for the screen size changes to update our state. We need to go back into our header component here, and first thing first, we're gonna change that to false. Like when it is on smaller screens, we want it to be false by default. And then we're gonna use a use effect, okay, and we are going to define a handle resize function. We're gonna call it handle resize, like this, and all it does is that it's gonna call this show navigation menu and give it the width, like the window width, okay. And we're gonna say if the inner width of the window is greater than like the number that we used earlier, I want you to set it to true, okay. And then we're gonna register this one using a event listener on the resize and pass it, okay. And so that our this add event listener doesn't get added again and again and again, we need to actually remove it whenever the component is removed from the screen, okay. Like here, our header component is going to be always at the top, but if someone like logs out, the header is going to get removed, and when he logs in again, the header is going to be called again, like once again, and this one is going to be like added on top of again and again, and which can cause actually performance issues later on. So for that, we're going to clean it. We're going to say that when this component is being removed from the screens, I want you to run this function where all we do is to call the windows.remove event listener, and we're going to give it the name of the event handler event and the name of the event handler that we add. So now we are safe. And now if I actually go on bigger screens, so as you can see, it is appearing. And in case you are wondering about this, why I did this, is actually to avoid when we would have a footer, the footer to be like instead of being at the bottom when we don't have enough content on the main, to be like to not be on the bottom, okay. That is a problem that occurs a lot of time, and I'm gonna link a video down below if you didn't know that this problem existed before. So coming back now, the remaining thing that we don't have on our header component is this profile component. Okay, so that's what we will be doing next. First thing first, let me actually destructure and grab our props here, all of them. Set show and then shed navigation menu. I'm gonna grab all of these, and then here what we do, the first thing that we need to do is to grab the logout function, okay. from our context. Sorry, it should be here. So I'm gonna grab the logout function from our authentication, like so. If you remember, we had a logout button here. So this is what we'll be calling when we click on it. So coming back, first we need to render the button, like this button that is toggling this pop-up. Okay, so I'm gonna paste it and explain what it is about. So it's going to be a simple button, okay, an HTML button, which will have the class of toggle that we will be using in our style to style it. And whenever we click on this one, we need to change the state of the profile menu, but also we need to close the navigation menu, but only if we are on small screens, okay? Because if you remember, this menu here, this one, like the menu button, the profile button is also on bigger screens, okay? So if we don't add this check in just to call this one, it's gonna hide them, okay? And that we don't want. And then we are rendering an image, like an image that will have either, if the user has a profile picture, we are rendering it. Otherwise, we're gonna render a default avatar image. And within, after, like below the image, we have a div, like it's this div, like where we have the name, like it has a class of name where we're rendering the first name of the user and also the last name of the user. But for the last, we're just grabbing the first character, okay? And then we are adding this dot so that we don't have something that's going to take a lot of space. User should come from our authentication context as well. So it's the logged in user actually. And it doesn't have first name, last name, and profile picture because when we implemented our authentication, our user didn't have these properties. We added them on our last backend video. So we need to update the interface. So we need to add this profile picture, which is of type string, and it's optional. So coming back to our profile component, as you can see, we are also displaying the first name and the last name that we will be asking, like after sign up with the multi-step form that I showed you in the beginning. Okay, so let me add these props as well. So here, so we'd have the first name, last name, the company, the position, and the location. And when we have all of these, this profile complete is going to be true, and it's going to be sent to us by the backend. Okay, so whenever a user don't have this profile complete, we're going to redirect it to the multi-step form so that he give us these informations. Okay, so save. Coming back here, so as you can see, for the John Doe user, we already have a picture. Okay, this is why it's being displayed. Actual data that our backend is sending, actually we simply would inspect, and if we look within, so within the user, as you can see, we are getting its picture, which is a URL. As I said, we are going to be handling uploading images later on. For now, the picture is static. Okay, and these data that are coming also from our backend, and the profile complete is true. Okay, close this. And so let us actually style this a little bit. So we're gonna go on our profile here, and we're gonna say use the root, and within the root we're gonna grab our toggle. Okay, we're gonna say that it's gonna have a display of flex, save, a flex direction of column. Okay, we're gonna use align items to center the text and the image, and we're gonna say it should have a border like a gray border, like we had here on the right side. Okay, coming back, then we're gonna add a padding right of 1 rem so that it isn't like touching the border right. Okay, then we're gonna grab the avatar. So if I show you, the avatar is this image that has the class of avatar. Okay, we're gonna grab the avatar and we're gonna say that it should have a width of 1.5 rem, also a height of 1.5 rem as well, and a border radius of 50%, so we have this rounded image. Okay, so let us actually implement the remaining part when we click like the toggle that we should show. Coming back to the profile, if you guys like, you might be wondering why this set profile menu is not a status defined within the component itself, like why we need to define it in the header and pass it as prop. Well, because if you remember, we wanted to call this show profile menu also when we click on like on these items. When we click on one of these items, we want to also close if it is open. Okay, that's why it should be like outside. Okay, then here below our button, here where we will be rendering our toggle. So here we're going to say when the show menu is true, we'll be rendering something. Otherwise we'll be rendering null. Okay, and this something, I'm gonna actually paste it and explain. Paste it. So it is going to be a div that has the class of menu that will be having a first child, which is also going to be a div with the content class, and this one is going to be containing the image of the user, and then it's going to be having its name and also like its title, which will be composed out of its position and its company name. So as you can see here, we have the name at the top here, and also we have the title, which is below, and at the left side we have its profile picture. And then we have this button, that it is this one, it's redirecting to the profile page, and then we have these links. So the first one is being redirecting to the settings and privacy, and the last one is for the sign out. So let us come back here, and if like it's saying that the button is not defined, so we need to actually import it. So I'm gonna say import. So we are actually importing it from the authentication components, and this is the same thing like as for the input. We thought that this button shouldn't be on other pages, because when we looked like on the LinkedIn project on a global level, we found that the button is very different on the other pages from the authentication. But I thought that we can just grab the same and change it a little bit like we did for the input. Okay, so now if I open it, as you can see, it's very ugly, and we're gonna design it in a bit. But before that, I'm gonna grab the button from here and add it on our component here. Move. Okay, say yes, so that it changes the path here. And this button component, we need to define it's a size property like we did for the input, and it's going to be either small or medium or large, like so. And we're gonna grab it, and we are gonna be giving a default value. We're gonna say it's large and add it here. Okay, we're gonna say that we will be having, we're gonna call the class and give it this size. Okay, save. And also we need to grab if there is one class name that the consumer has given us, we're gonna grab it as well, and we're gonna add it like the others, like so, and go into the style, and we're gonna remove the padding from here, and we're gonna add the 3 classes here. Okay, when it's large, the padding should be like before, okay, but for the medium, the padding should be slightly smaller, and also the font size, and the same thing for the small. Okay, and come back into our profile, and here we are using the navigate to navigate to the user. Okay, so we need to grab it from React Router DOM. Navigate is going to be use navigate, like so. That's the first thing to do. And also here, this should be dynamic actually, so we're gonna use the user, and we're gonna grab its ID. And TypeScript is yelling, it's saying there is no size on this component. So let me go within. Yeah, there was a typo. It should be size instead of size. So let me do that. Save. Coming back to the profile. So now it is working. So we have this button. Like if I open now, we have this button that's redirecting to the user profile, and then we have these 2 links at the bottom. Okay, let us just style all of this. So to style it, first I'm going to go into the header, and I'm going to say that the show profile menu is going to be true, so that it's visible, so we can style it. Okay, then I go into the profile menu here, and I'm going to grab the menu div. Okay, and we're going to say that it's going to have a background color, which is going to be white. It's also going to have a border. As you can see, it's going to have this border. It's going to have some padding, okay, and also some border radius. So if actually we look on the final design, we don't have a border radius here, like it's aligned with this left side border. So that's what we are doing. We are saying that the top should have, like the top left should have a border radius of 0.3 rem. The top right should have a 0, and the bottom ones also should have 0.3 rem. So that's what we are doing here. Okay, and then we're going to say that it should have a position of absolute, and we're going to use the same top as the navigation menu, and we're going to say the right should be 1 rem, like the navigation menu as well, and we also need the same width like the navigation menu, so 18 rem or 100%. Okay, and then we're gonna grab the name. We're gonna say that it should have a font weight of bold, so as you can see it's bold now, and we don't want the text, like we don't want the text to be like wrapped. Okay, so we're gonna say that text wrap should be a no wrap. So this is why we ensure that the name is always on one line. Then we're gonna grab the content, and we're gonna say that it should have a display of grid, and we would have 2 columns. The first one is gonna be of 4 rem, where we have the image, and the remaining is gonna take the remaining width. So as you can see, like so. And we're gonna use align items to center all of this. Then we're gonna grab the avatar. Actually, I'm gonna add this below because it's actually within the content. Okay, and we're gonna say that the avatar is gonna have a width of 4 rem. Okay, and a height of 4 rem as well, a border radius of 50% like before, and an overflow of hidden, like so, as you can see. And then we're gonna add some gap here. Then we need to create some space between these links. Okay, so for that we're gonna go into our profile here, and I'm gonna wrap the two like the links in a div, and I'm gonna give it the links class, and this should be a class from our styles. Okay, and we need to define it. I'm gonna come here, and here I'm gonna say, like below the avatar, the links is gonna have a display of grid, and we're gonna add some gap, let's say of between the two, and some margin tab of say 1. And there is, it's like slightly different from here because we need to define, like I think that our width is not being applied, so yeah, that's why it should be 118 rem. So now as you can see, it's similar to the final design, except that our input is much smaller on the final design. So looking at the profile, we are passing the size, but it's still bigger. So let me inspect to see what's happening. So we should be having this padding, but it's being overwritten by this one. Yeah, okay, so we need to go to the button here and remove the padding that we are adding on the outline. Okay, then save. And now if we compare the two, let me close all of this. So now if I compare the two, as you can see, they are similar. So as you can see, so let us simply change the state back to false by default, and we are done with our header. Actually, as you can see, it's a very good looking one. Why all of these pages are being red, I don't know. Yeah, okay, so let me come back. Actually, this should be optional, as I said. When it's not given, we just use the large one. This way we won't be breaking everything that we did on our authentication. And that's it for the header. Let us tackle the feed, okay? Like where we would show the post and all of this. So let me close all these tabs and open our feed, okay? For now it's completely empty, and in this feed we'll be having a div that's gonna have the left class. So we're gonna be using the class left like this. We'll be having one that's gonna be like in the center, and another one is going to be at the right. Okay, if we look at the final design, it's the left is this one, the right is this one, and the center is this. Start with the right side. Actually, the right side, as you can see, it's not dynamic. We're gonna be making it dynamic in upcoming videos. So it's rounded statically. So let us create this right side, and this right side we're gonna actually add it to its own component. So we're gonna call it right sidebar, and I'm gonna create it within the feed folder in a components folder. Okay, so we're gonna say a new folder. I'm gonna use it components, and here also I'm gonna create a pages folder. Then I'm gonna create a feed page, and add these two actually within this feed. Then we're going to create this component here in the component folder. So we're going to say right sidebar for now. Like so, and here we're going to import it. refresh. So as you can see, we have our right sidebar. So what this right sidebar contains, it's actually going to be straightforward. I'm going to paste it and explain what it contains. So the right sidebar is going to contain a title where we say add to your feed, okay, and then we're going to have a list of items. Each item is going to have an image that's coming from the internet. As I said, we'll be making this dynamic in upcoming videos. And then we have a content div where we have the name at the top, then the title, then a button that says follow, and also the same for this one. And we need to style all of this. So the style is also going to be quite straightforward. I'm going to paste it and explain. So we are saying that the background should be white. We have some border radius, a border like for the other items, like the header, some padding, a min height, like of actually this min height we don't need it anymore. And we are saying that the h3 should be like should have a font of weight of bold, some margin bottom, and the items div should be of display grids at some gap, so we separate these two items. And then the item, they should have a display flex so that we have the image at the left and the content with the button at the right. Then setting some width on the avatar, some styles on the button. And what I want to do is that I'm gonna also here on our reset, I'm gonna say that the object fit of all the images should be cover so that they look nicer. Okay, so that's it for the left side. And then we are going to create the right sidebar component here in the component. So I'm going to say new folder, and it's going to be the left sidebar, sorry, sidebar. So it's going to be sidebar, left sidebar .tsx, new file, then a right sidebar .model .scss. Okay, so let me create it. For now I'm going to just render some junk, and here so it was, sorry, here it should be actually left, so it was left sidebar.model.scss, like so. So we're gonna render it here. Didn't I import? Yeah, okay. This was the right sidebar, so here should be center, and then we would have the left sidebar. Save it. So we have this F by default. So this left sidebar, what it contains, I'm going to also paste it and explain. So come in here. So as you can see, we are grabbing the user from the authentication, and then we have a div that renders the like this cover, like the image that's here. So we have this div with the class of cover that's rendering a random image coming from the internet. That will be making a dynamic in upcoming videos. Okay, as I said, we will be handling image uploading later on. And then we are rendering the avatar of the user, like if he already has an avatar, we use it, otherwise we render one by default. Then we are rendering the name, like the first name plus the full last name, then the position, and then we have a div with the info tag. This is gonna be static in this video, and we'll be making it dynamic in upcoming videos as well. So we are just rendering some viewers numbers and some connections like on LinkedIn, and we need to add the style of this left sidebar as well. So I'm gonna paste it and explain. So we are adding some background, some border, and some padding on the on the root, and we're also saying that the text align should be center. We want it like so. And the cover, so we're saying that the cover should have a height of 7 rem, and we are saying that it should have a margin of -1 rem. Why we are doing this? Because if I remove this, as you can see, since the parent has a padding of 1 rem, there is like this gap between the image and the end of the container, and I want the image to be touching the end like borders. Okay, so by doing this, I'm somehow like resetting this. Okay, then I'm saying that the image should have a width of 100, a height of 100 as well. This actually I can remove it because it's coming from our reset. Save it, and then we are grabbing the avatar and we're adding this margin top that's negative, because as you can see it's like slightly on top of the cover. Like if I remove, it's going to be below. Okay, and if I remove also the margin, as you can see, it's going to be completely at the bottom. So by adding this margin minus rem, this is already pushed a little bit, and then by adding this margin top, it's completely going up, as you can see. So just setting the width, the height, a margin of inline auto, so that it is centered like in the middle, some border radius, and we're also setting a border like on LinkedIn. And then we have this position relative to create a stacking context. So by doing that, we make sure that our image, although it is pushed like within the cover image, it should be at the top. Like let's say if I remove this position relative, okay, and save, as you can see, our border is going underneath the cover. Okay, so that's why we need this. And then we're just asking the images within the avatar div to fill all its parent. Okay, then we are saying the name should have a font weight of bold, some margin. The title, so we are adding a border bottom on the title. This is what you are seeing here. Okay, and then we are grabbing the info tag. We're saying that its text align should be like left. We are setting the font size, a margin tab, the color should be slightly grayer, and then the item that's within each of these should be a display flex, and we should use like a space between to separate them. And we are saying that the value should have a font weight of bold. Okay, so that's it for the right side. And if you remember, they actually shouldn't be visible here when we are on smaller screens. For that, we're gonna go into our feed here, so here on the feed style, and we're going to grab the root. Okay, and we're gonna say that it should have a display of grid, and it should have a gap of 2 rem, so that we separate like everything. Okay, then we're gonna say that the max width of the root should be 74 rem, so that when we go on bigger screens, it stays like centered. Okay, then we're gonna say that the width by default should be 100%. We're gonna use a margin of 0 auto, and we're gonna say that the left and the right side should have a display of none, because we don't want to show them on mobile screens. Okay, and when we come on bigger screens, we're gonna grab the left and right side, and we're gonna say they should have a display of block. Okay, and that the root should have a display grid. Like we're gonna have 3 columns. The first one should be of 14 rem, the right side should have 20 rem, and the one in the middle should take all the available like width. Okay, so now if I go bigger, as you can see, this is 20 rem, this one is 14 rem, and the remaining is filled by the middle container. Okay, but this middle container, we don't have it yet. Okay, so that's what we will be doing next. The center, the first thing that we will be rendering is the button for opening the create post model. Okay, like if I show you here, this is the first thing that we render within the middle component, this button. When we click, like, it opens this pop-up. Okay, so there are some things that we need to grab. So I'm gonna grab the use navigate from the React router DOM, like so, and also I'm gonna import our button. Okay, and this model we don't have it. Okay, for now let me actually comment it out so that we have something that's on the screen. And also we need to grab our user from the authentication context. Like so. And this show posting model, this should be a React state. This is what will help us like open and close the model. So let me paste it as well, like so, and import this from React. Save it. So as you can see, the posting button, like the posting section here, it is called, it has like this posting class, and then we have a button that contains the image of the connected user, and then it contains, because like here I have a button because I want, when I click, I want to go to the profile of this user. Okay, like if we click here, we go to the profile. So that's what we are doing with this button. And then we have this button like that's coming from our component that should like open the model. Okay, so save all of this and let us style this part. We are gonna go here and we're gonna grab the posting div, and it should have a background color of white. Okay, it should be posting like this, so it should have a background color of white. We're gonna have a border radius, like this should be a small one, like so. We are also gonna add a border like with the header. Then we're gonna add some padding, so it's gonna be padding of 1 rem, like so. And then we're gonna say that it should be a display grid, and we want 2 columns. So the first one should be of 5 rem, where we have our avatar, and the second one should take all the available, like this button should take all the available remaining width. Okay, save this, and we're gonna add some gap of 1 rem. Then we're gonna grab the avatar and say that it should have a width of 5 rem, a height of 5 rem, and a border radius of 50%. Save it, and as you can see, it's looking quite good now. Then we're gonna add our filter, like these 2 buttons, and these we're gonna add them in a div called header. I'm not quite inspired, so that's the name that I went for. So I'm calling it header, and in this header we have 2 buttons. The first one that's saying all, and the second one that's saying feed. And when we click on the first, like when we click on it, we are setting a set feed content, which is going to be a React state to all. And when we click on this, we're saying I want only to see the post of my connections, not me. So right now we're not handling connections per se, but in upcoming videos we are going to be having that, and we make sure that it's not all the posts, like it's not all the posts that the connected user didn't post, but the posts that are coming from his connections. So we do that, and we need this actually state. So I'm gonna add it here. So it's going to be a state that's gonna have 2 possible values, and by default it should be connections. Okay, so, and this button should have a class of active when the feed content is all, the same for this one when the feed content is connection. And let us style them. So we go back into our feed, and I'm gonna paste it and explain what it does. Okay, so all we're doing is that we are saying that it should have a display flex. We're setting that justify content should be flex end. So as you can see, before they are here, and now we're saying we want them at the end of the screen. Okay, some gap, some font size, and we're saying that each button should have a background of this grayish color, a border radius that's big, so we have this pill shape, okay? And we are saying that the padding should have like 0.5 and 1 rem. And I'm not using actually the button component here, because this feed is gonna change later on, so that we have something that's similar to the drop down that LinkedIn have, okay? And then we are saying when the button has the active class, I want to change the background to this and the color to this, okay? And finally, we are gonna render the posts that are coming from our database. So we're gonna come here below our header, we're gonna paste this div, okay? So it's a div that has the class of feed and it's mapping over post, and we don't have this post and this post component as well. We're gonna be creating them in a bit. So first thing first, I am going to create this post component. So here in the component folder, I'm gonna call it post, and it's going to be post.tsx, and also add a style. So post.model.css, okay? So first thing first, let me create a component here, and this post component is actually going to define an interface for our post. Like this is like the post that we are getting from the API has these types, okay? So we'd have an ID, a content, an author, which is going to be our authentication user. So let us go into our authentication provider and actually export this, like so. Coming back, I'm going to import it, okay? And then we're going to be defining a comment type as well, that we don't have, okay? And then we are going to define the post like props. So we will be receiving the post that this component should render, and also the set post, so that we update when there is a like or there is a comment, for example. Coming back into our feed, we're going to define the post state. So it's going to be post set post, and it's going to be, we're going to call use state, and we're going to say that it should be, we're going to grab the post interface that we just defined, and by default it should be empty, okay? So we just should make sure that, yeah, this is imported. So coming back to the feed, yeah, now you have to refresh, so it should go away, but we don't have anything that's being rendered, which is normal. So let us actually call our API to get the post upon the feed component rendering. So we're gonna say like so, and here we'll define a function that's called fetch post. I'm gonna paste it and explain what it does. So it will be calling our backend API using this feed content. So if the feed is connection, I want just to make a call to this URL. If it's not connection, I want you to call the /posts, okay? And we are passing the authentication like header, like the token as part of a barrier, okay? If the response is not okay, we are grabbing the message and throwing an error with the error message. If it's okay, we're gonna grab the data and set our post. Here we check that if the error, if instance of error, we set this error, okay, our state error. If it's not the case, we set it with this random error message, because as you might already know, an error is not always an instead of error. This is why we need actually this if to be able to get this error.message, okay? So we need to define this error message, so it's gonna be here. So it's a simple React state, okay? And we need to call this function when the page load, okay? And we also need to add, because on our use effect we depend on this, like this feed content state, we need to add it here, so that when it changes, the use effect callback runs again. So now if we inspect our page and go to the network tab, refresh, as you can see we are getting this feed where we have all these posts, but we are not displaying them yet. First thing first, I actually want to render an error message when there is one, because it's saying that this is defined but not used. Okay, so here, like at the top of the header, I'm gonna have this div. When there is an error, I want to render it, and when this error message is rendered, I'm gonna have also a style, like a red style here. I think the color should be red. So let me, for example, make a mistake here so that we have an error message. So I'm gonna, instead of API, I'm gonna call something like APIs with an S. So now, as you can see, it's saying failed to fetch. So this is the error message that I'm showing. Back the right URL, save, fresh, and we're done. Now we need to actually go into our post and render some stuff. As you can see, for now there's nothing that's being rendered. So within our root component here, we're gonna have a div that's gonna have a class of top. Okay, we're gonna say class.top. This is like the div that's gonna render like this. Okay, this part. Let me close it, come back here. So the first thing that we will be having in this div is going to be our author. So let me paste it, and we're gonna be needing the use navigate from React Router DOM, like so. And what we are doing in this tab, so within the author we have a button, okay, that when we click on it, it's taking us to the profile of the user, and then we have the avatar of the user. Then below that we have the name, then the title, and finally a function that's called time ago. So time ago is a function that's gonna, for now actually let me comment this part. So let me comment this part, and then we're gonna say we're gonna use the post.updated. If it's updated, we're gonna show this text. Otherwise, we just to show normal, otherwise like we show nothing. Okay. So already let us style it a little bit. So if we look on the final design, each post actually is wrapped within this content where we have this background color white. So that's what we'll be doing. Ignore all of this, we're going to be fixing it in a bit. So for now, we're going to come here, we're going to go here, and we're going to say that the root is going to have a background color of white, a border radius, a border, a margin bottom, and a position relative. So these, like each post is separated from the other one. Okay, so that's the first thing that we are doing. And why we have this position relative, I'm going to be explaining it in a bit, because like if we look on the final design here, if I go on all, if I come to one of my posts, like as you can see, we have this button, and when we open it, we have this edit and delete component that's actually positioned absolutely within the component. That's why we need this position relative. Okay, then we are going to style the tab. So we're gonna grab the tab here, and what we are saying, so before it was like this, now it's like this. So we're saying that the tab should have a display flex, some gap, align items of flex start. We are like adding some font size, like we want them to be smaller, and also justify content of a space between. So why we are doing this, actually, if we look on the tab, so the tab, it contains the author here at the left, but we don't have anything on the right side yet. And on the right side, actually, we will be rendering this component. I'll be doing it in a bit. So for now, let us keep it like this, and then we are adding some styles on the name and then on the avatar. Then what we do is we're gonna grab the author, and we're going to say it should have a display of flex, align items of center, and some gap. So as you can see, it's like this. And then we're going to grab the date. So we're going to say it is gray and it should be smaller. So the date is actually this item. So if I render some junk, as you can see, it's slightly smaller and it's grayish. And we're going to be implementing this time ago in a bit. I was saying that this tab, it will contain also the buttons to edit the or to delete the post. So we're going to paste that. So I'm going to paste it and explain what it contains. So what we are saying, like, let me actually grab the authenticated user from our context. User is going to come from use authentication, like so. And what we are saying is that if the post author.id is the same as the user that is connected, we want to show this button, okay? And this button, it only contains an SVG, like an icon, and then we have this show menu state, okay? I'm gonna add it actually. So here, so what this show menu is doing, I'm gonna also import from React. So here, when we click on this button, we are gonna toggle the show menu, okay? And then we also have this class of toggle, and also when it's opened, we are adding an active class, and it's simply rendering an SVG. So if I go on all and find one of the posts of our connected user John Doe, like if I inspect this, okay, so if we inspect this, like our tab component, it contains the author, like the author at the left, and then we have this div that's not visible. Why? Because our SVG is actually very small, like we need to set some width and height on it so we are able to see it. So let me make it smaller again, and here I'm gonna actually grab the toggle class, like the button that has the toggle, and paste this, okay? So we are saying that the SVGs that's within our button with the toggle class should have this width and this height. Then the button itself, like, should have this width, this height, a border radius, so that it is like round. So you are not seeing it, but when we hover, actually, like, we have this border radius. So we're saying the background is transparent, and then we are setting it to this gray, okay? And we're saying that it should center the SVG that's within. So that's for our toggle. Then we need the style for our menu. So the menu is actually this thing, and it's not visible for now. For that, I'm gonna here say that it's true by default, okay, so that it's visible, and let us style it. So our menu is actually going to have a position of absolute. That's why we have set it this position relative on the parent here, okay? And then we are saying that the right should be, like, I've actually played with different values to have something that's like next to the button. So that's what I did. Then it should have a display of flex, flexation of column, and add some gap. And then I'm grabbing the button, like not the last one, all the others, there are actually two of them, but I'm like grabbing the first one and adding a border bottom, some padding, so that the two are separated, okay? So coming back here, we don't have this set editing state, so we need to add that. We're gonna say const set editing, and then set editing, and we're gonna use this state, and by default it should be false, okay? So when actually we click on this edit, we will be opening the model to edit the post like we have here. So if I click, so we're opening this. This is why we need this editing state, okay? And the delete, this is going to be a call to our API to delete the post. Let me paste it here. So the delete, all it does is gonna call our API on this URL, giving the ID of the post with the method to be delete, sending also the token, and then if the response is not okay, it's going to grab the message that our backend sends and throw an error, and we are simply logging it for now. Then if the request was okay, we are going to grab all our posts, like by using the prev, like we grab the previous posts and we're going to filter them, and we're going to remove the post where the ID is the ID that we are getting here, okay? And the ID is the ID of the current post actually, so this ID. So save. Now if I actually delete this one, it's gonna be gone. So as you can see, it's gone now, okay? So that's already working. And then below the top div, we are gonna actually render the content of the post. So we are simply gonna have a div that's gonna have the class of content with this in it renders the content that's coming from our post. So save it, and as you can see, it's ugly now, and we actually also need to set back to false. And then we're gonna go here and add some style for the content, okay? So the content is, I'm gonna add it somewhere here below, like actually I'm gonna add it below here. So we are just simply adding some padding, okay, on the left, on the side, but not on the top. Save, and that's good. Then after the content, we will be rendering actually, if there is one, the picture, okay? So here I'm gonna say if the post contain a picture, I'm gonna render it. Then we are gonna show the stats of the post. Like when I say stats, I'm talking about this, like the number of likes and also the number of comments if there are any. So these are the stats. So let me come back here, and I'm going to paste it and also explain what it does. So the stat is going to be below our picture, like so. And we are saying, so it's here, so it's a div that contains the stat, that has the stat class, and we're saying that if our post has some likes, and that the number of likes is greater than, like, because actually this can be null, like our backend could send a post with null. That's why we're checking first it's not null, and then if there are some likes, we are going to render actually this div, okay? I'm going to explain what it contains in a bit. And if it's not the case, I'm rendering an empty div. Actually, with this empty div, I'm able to make sure that every time, even if there is no post, I'm going to be adding a display flex on this with justify content of space between. I'm sure that this is going to be at the right and this is like at the left, okay? Like if I didn't have, the comments might be at the left, and that I don't want, okay? So then we are going to need actually this show comments state. Let me add it here. So this is the comment that's going to help us actually show the comments, like when we click here. So this is like the number of likes, which is being displayed by this one, and this is the number of comments that's being displayed by this. So this what is doing, that if the comments is not null and the length is greater than 0, we will be rendering a button so that will display the number of comments next to just a like text that says comment, like one comment. And if we click on this, it's going to toggle the show comment state. Okay, very straightforward. But here on the like side, it's slightly different. So on the like side here, we are saying like, so we are saying you every time, like we are able to say you and some other people have liked, okay? Like if the logged in user has liked the post, we are gonna say you, and if it's not, he's not like part of the people who has liked this post, we're gonna grab the first person within the likes array, and we are gonna display his first name and last name and say tell person, like some person, and then we're gonna count actually the number of remaining people. Though we're gonna remove the first one, and then we're gonna say if this is greater than 0, we're gonna say this number minus 1 others have liked. Okay, if the number that we are displaying, okay, is equal to 1, we're gonna just say other, otherwise we're gonna use others with an S. Okay, we say like this, and this liked, post liked, this should be an state, so I'm gonna add it at the top here. So what it does is that when the post component renders, is gonna check within the likes of the component if there is one where the like ID is the same as our authenticated user. As you can see, that's what he's doing. So save it, come back. That already, as you can see, we have a number of comments and you like this and all. We're gonna be styling it in a bit, and then every time this likes array changes, we need to update the component. Okay, and for that we're gonna use a use effect. So here I'm gonna use a use effect and say every time the number of like the likes array of our post change, or that the connected user ID changes, I want you to update the post liked state. Okay, that's what we are doing. So we are saying every time we are doing like this. And why I have actually these two banks before, because by default some this is actually because here like we have this optional symbol is gonna give us undefined. This is going to be undefined if the likes is not defined. Okay, so that's why using this we are casting undefined to a boolean. So let us style actually the stats. So it's going to be quite straightforward as well. So we're going to add it here. We're just saying that the stats should have a display of flex, and I want to separate between the two. And also I'm going to say that each stat should have some padding and a font size. Okay, then below the stats we'll be having our actions. The actions are actually these two buttons, for the like and for opening the comments. Okay, so this I will be pasting it and then explain. So we're gonna add it after the stat div. So it's a div that has the actions style. Okay, and when we click, like we are rendering actually two buttons. The first one, when we click on it, we are gonna call the like function. We don't have it, we're gonna define it in a bit. And if the post is already liked, I'm gonna be adding this active class, the same here. And this, only what it does, it's gonna also like open the comment box like this one does. Okay, so that's it actually. So we are gonna style all of this. So it's saying that I don't have this like. For now I'm going to remove it. Or actually let me say add just an empty function. Now as you can see, we have for each button we have an SVG that I grabbed from Font Awesome and a text. Okay, so let us style this. Let me come back here. I'm gonna grab the actions style here. I'm gonna add it below the stats. Okay, so these actions, what it does is that it's gonna define a display flex to separate the two buttons. Okay, add a border tab, which is this, and then it's gonna add display flex on each button to separate the SVG with the text, okay? And then when we have the active class, it should change the color, and this active is applied when we like click on this. Like now we don't have actually any, we're not showing the command box, but like if we click on this, we should open the command box and show that the command box is opened, okay? And here if I dislike it, this should go away, but we don't have this functionality yet. So I'm gonna come back here and add back the like function, like so, and I'm gonna paste it and explain what it does, okay? So here, before the delete post, we have a like post, okay? So this like post, what it does, first thing first, it's going to change the look of the like button. So that's what I was saying in the beginning of the video. This is called optimistic updates. So we update the UI first, then we make our call to our backend, and if there is an error, we are reverting the UI back. So we use an approach where we assume that the request is gonna pass, okay? So that's called optimistic updates. And then we call our API. It's a put method. We pass the token. If the response is not okay, we're gonna throw the an error with the message coming from the API, and we catch it, we log it, and then we revert back. So if the post has passed, we will not be calling this one, and our optimistic updates would be fine. So that's what we'll be doing. So now if I actually let me refresh just to make sure I have everything right. If I click on this, so as you can see, the button has changed and also the number of likes. Then we are going to tackle our comments. So this is going to be our the last div that we'll be rendering below our actions, okay? So we are saying that if we have the show comments state to true, I'm going to render a div that has the comments class, and within this div we have a form that's gonna call a post comment on submit, and we have this input, okay? And this content and set content, it's actually a state. I could have called it like comment content, comment like input content or something like this, but for now we can keep it like this. So we are saying that our input would have a value that's like coming from our state, and when it changes, I want you to change it back, okay? And then we are mapping over the comments of our post and rendering a component that's called comment that we don't have yet, that we need to define. So here we're gonna go on the components folder and create a folder called comment. Then we're gonna create the comment.tsx. Then we're gonna create comment.model.css. So first thing first, let me create the component, and this comment component is also gonna define the type of the comment that's coming from our API. So each comment is going to be of this type. It's gonna have a creation date, an updated date, and also an author, okay? Then we're gonna define the props of this comment component. So we receive a comment and also delete comment, which is going to be a function that will receive the comment ID, and also an edit comment. And here we're gonna use it, okay? So we are going to add it like this, and we're gonna use the restricting to grab these props. Then we are going to need some data here, so we're gonna grab the navigate function from React Rotterdam. We're gonna grab use state here. Like we need something called show actions. Like this actually is used when I, like, let's say I open the comments here, okay? So when I click on this, I'm opening these, and this actually we are handling it with this show actions state. Then we have this editing state. This editing state, like when we click on the edit here, we use it to render, instead of the comment content, we render this input that contains the command value, okay, to edit it. So that's what we need this for. And then we have the command content, and then we're grabbing the authenticated user. I'm gonna be showing you why we need this in a bit. So first thing first, we are gonna actually like grab the key, because remember, we are looping over and we are rendering it as part of a list. So we need to define the key so that we don't get an error from React saying that each child in a list should have a unique key value. So now that has been said, here we're going to say that if editing is false, I'm going to render something. So if false, I'm going to actually render the actual content of the comment. So let me paste it and explain what it contains. So it should be like this. So we are rendering the content of the comment itself. I'm going to be showing you in a bit, okay? Otherwise, we are going to render a form. Let me paste it. I need to import this. So the form is quite straightforward. It only contains one input where the value is the value of our current content, okay, that we show when we click on edit. And when we submit, when we click enter within the input, we are gonna fire the onSubmit on the form, and we're gonna simply call our edit function that's coming from the outside. And then we hide the form, and then we hide also the toggles that has helped us open this form from the beginning. So let me actually import this. Then the content of the comment itself is actually like made of two divs. The first one, like the second one, is simply rendering the content of the comment. Okay, so the content of the, sorry, I'm gonna be showing you this here. So the content is just this. Okay, come back. Okay, I know why this is happening. We're gonna fix this in a bit. So the content of the comment is this, and then at the top we have the header. In the header we have this image at the left, and also the like information about the poster of the comment, and also this button when it's a comment that we made. So let me open it to show you. So it's first thing first, it's a button. When we click, it's gonna like take us to the author ID. Then we have the image of the author. Then we have like its name, its title, and the date using the timeigo function that I talked about. Actually, let me create it. We're gonna create it in a folder called utils. Okay, and I'm going to call it like I'm gonna create a file called, sorry, I'm gonna call it date.ts. So I'm gonna paste it and explain it in a bit. So we're just actually getting a date and using some if state to render like a text saying like some second ago, or some minute ago, or some hours ago, or some days ago, or some months ago. So it's actually like straightforward. If we divide the, like, first thing first, we are actually grabbing the date, like the date, the current like time, and then we are subtracting the current name from the date that we are receiving, okay, and we are converting it into seconds. Then if like we divide by divide the number of seconds that we have here by 16, and the number is greater than 1, which means that we are talking of minutes here. Okay, so we render this. If it is like, if we have a number that's greater than 1 after dividing it by 3600, so we are talking about hours. So that's what this does. So let me actually add it back here as well. Where was I? So it was, I commented it somewhere here. So let me search for the new, yeah. So let me bring it back now that we defined it. Okay, so now if I save, as you can see, we're getting it. It's saying like 31 minutes ago. Let me come back to our comment. Where was I? So yeah, here. Let me import it. Okay, and if it was updated, we are doing the same thing as the post. Okay, and then we're saying that if the comment author ID is our current ID, we're gonna render the same button as with our post. So this button, okay, this button. And when we click on this button, we are setting the show actions, like we reverse it, and then we are going to be showing these two buttons. The first one is going to set editing to true, so that we show this form. The second is going to call the delete command to delete the command. Okay, so that's it. And I'm going to paste the style of the comment. It's going to be straightforward. You can like check it out in the final code if you want, but it's nothing more complicated than what we did so far. So now let us come back in our post here, where we are rendering like our comments. So first let us import it. Okay, like so. Save, and we need to define this edit and delete comment functions. Let me also grab them and explain what they contain. So we have the edit comment and delete comment. Let me add them here, like on the post. Okay, so the edit comment, what it does is that it's gonna call our endpoint, and if the response is okay, it's going to go over all our posts and find the posts that match our current post. Okay, like if it's not the case, just return the post as it was before. If it matches our current post, we are gonna like destructure all the other props and update its comments. Then we're gonna go through the comments. If the comment ID is the same as the ID that we are editing, I want you like to update its content with the content that we are receiving and set the updated date to this. Okay, the delete comment is gonna do kind of the same thing. So it's gonna call with a delete method, and if the response is not okay, it's gonna throw an error that's gonna be catched. And for now we're just console logging it, and then we're gonna go through all our posts, find the post that has the same ID that the post that this component is showing, and then we are gonna go through its comments, and we're gonna filter it and we're gonna remove it. Okay, so that's what we are doing. Also, we're gonna be needing this post comment. It's kind of similar. So what it does is gonna make a post call to our endpoint. Okay, so this is being called upon the form like is submitted. Okay, so we are saying prevent the default where like it would simply refresh the page. Okay, and then if the content is empty, we are returning. Otherwise, we're gonna make a call, a post call. We're gonna pass the content as part of the body, like in a JSON format, set the application content to JSON, and get back the comment, go through our post, find the post that's matching the current post that we are displaying, and look at its comment. Okay, if the comment is already like defined, we're gonna add the new comment at the top of the list and add the others later on. If this is not defined, we're gonna create a new array and paste it. Okay, and then we're gonna remove the content of the form. So that's what all it does. So let me test all of this. As you can see, it's opened, but this is looking bad because we need to actually add some styles here on the feed side. No, it's not on the feed, sorry, it's here. So if I save, we are just adding some gap, okay, and also a margin top. So now if I actually add some stuff and hit enter, as you can see, it's added. And if I click edit, I'm deleting it. And every time if we look into our network, there are calls that are being made actually. So if as you can see, there's a call that's made and we're getting back this data. We want to open this pop-up, okay? So let me increment this part, and we're going to create this model component here. Model, we're going to say a model.model.css, and also under model.tsx. I'm going to call it, import it like so, and we need to define its props. Like, let me actually paste the model props here. So it should have a show model, that is going to be a boolean, the content of the model. As you can see, actually when we try to edit a post, the model is already filled in with the data that's coming from the post. So that's why we need this content for. Then we also have the picture URL, like if a post that has a picture, we're going to be receiving as well, and we're going to be populating the input, the picture input, okay, like this input. Then we have the set show model, which is going to be a React set state that we will call when we click when we click here, okay. And we also need an onSubmit function that we will be calling when the form is submitted. And why we are getting it from the outside? Because the same model will be using it to edit the post as well. Like it's going to be the same, like here as you can see, this is for editing, but also the same is used for posting a new post. So this is why we need as much as props coming from the outside, so that it is customizable, okay. So we are actually gonna grab all these props here, okay. We're not using them so far. Then we're gonna have an white ceiling, okay, that's okay. So we also be having an error state, also a loading state. So here, if when posting there is an error, we're going to show it here, okay. Then we're going to say if show model is false, we're going to return nothing. Otherwise, we are going to return this. I'm going to explain what we are returning actually. So we are returning a model, like a div that has a class of model, and it contains a header where we show the title of the model and also the button to close it. So as you can see here, when it's creating a post, the model is saying creating a post, but when I am editing my post, the model is saying editing your post. So that's why the title is dynamic as well. Then we have a form. Like within the form, we have a text area, which is this thing, and then we have an input for the image. And if there is an error, we are showing it like before the submit button. So the submit button should come also from our components. So let me import this as well. Okay, and in our onSubmit, we will prevent the default behavior where the browser is gonna restart, like it's gonna refresh the page. Then we're gonna set this loading to true. We're gonna grab the text area content. Okay, this is why actually on the text area the name is content, and here the name is picture. So we are grabbing the content, the picture, and if there is no content, we're going to show an error here. So let's say, for example, I try to post a post, okay, with no content. So it's going to say content is required, okay. So that's what we are doing. Then we are going to say, we're going to call actually the onSubmit that we're getting from the outside, and after it has finishes, we're going to remove the is loading the search show model to close it, okay. And if there is an error, we're going to grab it and show it. Finally, we also gonna like remove the loading state. Actually, this we can remove it from here now. Actually, yeah, actually we can add these two here, and also here we are gonna actually set the is loading to false. We show the error and we set this loading to false so that the button is accessible again, okay. So now if I open it, and no, I'm not on the right side, so if I click on this, like we are opening it, but the styling is bad. So let us come back here. So I'm gonna paste it and explain what it does, okay. So we are saying that the root, like the root, which is this div, we're saying that it should have a position of fixed. We are setting an inset of 0, and this is actually like having a like having top 0, left 0, right 0, and bottom 0. Like this inset is a shortcut for all of these. And then we are setting a slightly transparent background on it. Then we are centering the content that it contains. We are adding this very big Z index to make sure that it's at the top of everything. Then we are grabbing the model like its direct child, and we are saying it should have a background color of white. It should have some border radius, a border, a width of 100%, a max width of 45 frame, some margin to separate it from the top, okay, and some padding. Then we're grabbing this header. The header is the div where we have the title and this button, okay. We're adding this display flex to add them on one line, some margin button to separate it from the text area, and we are saying that the button should have this background color, a width, a height, and a border radius. And as you remember, this is just an X, like we added as text like this, okay. Then if there's an error, we should display it with this color. The title should be bold. The text area should take all the available width, a height of 20 rem, resize none, like we don't want the thing that is here, like to say resize. This thing is gonna break our style, as you can see. So we're gonna say resize none, or actually we could have just simply said resize. I think there's resize Y or something. And then we're adding some border radius, some padding. And actually this footer class, we don't need it anymore. Like we're gonna remove it. So as you can see, it's the same as on the final design. The creation of a post, I'm gonna say lorem ipsum, and just to paste it. And as you can see, it's pasted like 0 seconds ago. If I refresh, I won't see it because by default we don't show the post of the current user. So I can come back here, and as you can see, we are seeing it now. Now if I click on the edit, like nothing is happening because we need to implement the editing logic. So we're gonna go into our post here, and if you remember, we had this editing state that we will use to render the model. So here I'm gonna come, and I'm actually gonna grab all of this, okay, all of this, and I'm gonna render it dynamically, okay. So we're gonna say if editing is through, so I'm gonna use if editing, so editing is true, we are going to render our model, so the same one, but we used to will be passing different props, and if not, we're gonna render nothing, and below this we're gonna render our actual content. Okay, so save, and so now if I click on this, still nothing is happening, because remember, for this model to be shown, we need to actually pass the show model, which is going to be like this, so editing. So now as you can see, it's appearing. Actually, we don't need this, because the display and non-display of the model is being handled by the model itself. Okay, so now as you can see, it is like quite dark, because all the posts on our page are showing this model. Yeah, actually, sorry, I'm passing the wrong, so it should be like this. And here we're gonna say that the title is going to be editing a post. So now if I click on this, it says editing a post. Then the content is going to be the content of our post. So we're going to say a post dot content. Then the picture is also going to be the picture from our post, like so. And the onSubmit handler is the one thing that's missing. So let us add that. We're going to say onSubmit, I want you to call the edit post. That we don't have, we need to define it. I'm going to paste it and explain what it does. It is also quite straightforward, so we're going to add it here. So all it does is going to call our endpoint, like the post with the post ID. It's going to be a put method, and where we will send as part of the JSON the content in the picture that we will be receiving. And then if the response is okay, we are going to update our states. So when we find the post that has the same ID that the post that the component is currently displaying, we're gonna return the new data. Otherwise, we like return the old one. It's still yelling, I don't know why. Yeah, okay, so we need this set show model, and we need to pass it. I don't know how I did call it. So it's actually set editing. Yeah. So simply when we click on the like input here, we're gonna call set editing to false, so that the show model become false. Okay. So here, if I click, as you can see, it's populated with the content of our post. So let me make it bigger and close this. As you can see, we have everything that we talked about in the beginning of the video, like on the feed side. The one thing that's remaining is the multi-step form to ask the user its information that we don't have so far. So now, if I actually log out, okay, and sign in a new user, let's say I'm gonna use yusuf.omar@example.com, and I'm going to create one. Okay, it has sent an email to our SMTP server. If I grab it, so it's saying it has expired. I'm gonna ask again. So yeah, we have a new one. I'm gonna grab it and validate. So as you can see, upon validating, I'm accessing the home page, and since we didn't define the name, the last name, the position, and none of this, as you can see, we are getting something that's very weird, and that we don't want. That's the thing that we need to fix with the multi-step form. So for that, the first thing that we are going to be doing is that we're going to come here in our authentication provider here. We are going to have like some checks, like we used to be verifying only for the email, but now we should also redirect when the profile complete is not true. Okay, and also I'm gonna make some changes in how we handle this. Like, I'm gonna be using if else simply outside of the GSX. Okay, so here the first thing, this one, if it's loading, we're gonna run the loader. That's as before, nothing is going to change. Second thing, this, if is loading is false and that the user is not defined and we are not on one of the authentication page, we should redirect. That also won't change. Then we are going to add a verify email condition. Okay, so the one that we had here, now I want to add it like outside. Okay, so if we have a user and that its email is not verified and that we are not on the authentication verify email page, you should redirect there. Okay, and the last one, we could actually simplify it to simply, if there is a user and we are on one of the authentication page, like the authentication pages are these, I want you to redirect to the home page as well. So now we have nothing that's being rendered, although we have this page. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna go and create a path that's gonna called so profile in the ID of this, like of the profile, and here we're gonna say simply for now we're gonna render a div that says profile, like so. Just I want to make sure that it should be like this. So actually we have a profile that's gonna be part of the application, like the actual LinkedIn profile, where you can like see the data about you, your skills, your connections and all. But this one is part of the authentication, because like this page we show it only upon registration. Okay, so we need to define this profile page, and it's page that's part of our authentication. So we're gonna define it here. We're gonna say a profile, like so, and create profile .tsx, and also profile.model.css, like so. And we're gonna just run the AP for now. Let us come back here and we are going to render it. So it should be profile that's coming from our not from the components header, but from the authentication pages. Okay, save. So as you can see, we simply have a p tag. So this profile, let me make it slightly bigger, what it will contain. So let me paste the markup and explain what it contains. Bear with me, it's gonna make it sense in a bit. Okay, so the first thing is that we are gonna grab the box coming from the components in our authentication. Like, this is what help us have the box, like to center. Like if let's say I log out. Okay, so this is actually the box we are talking about. Okay, so I'm importing it, and then we are going to import our input. Then what we are doing is that we are saying, so let me come back here. It's okay, it's going to make it sense in a bit. So we're saying only one step, and then this p tag, and then we're going to have a state called step. Okay, and I'm going to paste it. So by default it's going to be 0. Okay, let me refresh it. Yeah, and then we also going to be needing an error state. Should import the button. the data actually is like, let me paste it also, it is also a state. It's gonna make sense in a bit, okay? So the data actually is a state where we are gonna keep track of the first name, last name, company, position, location as the user fills in its data, okay? So now we have something that's shown. So as you can see, we have this h1, okay, this p tag, and with the help of this box, if we go on bigger screens, like it's going to be centered like so, okay? And we are saying that if step is 0, I want you to render these inputs. If step is 1, I want you to render these two. If it's 2, I want you to render this 1, okay? If there is an error, like actually when we submit the form at the end, we could have errors. And if there is one, I want you to show it here, okay? Then we are showing our buttons. The buttons, like if the step is greater than 0, we're gonna be having the back button next to the next one. If the step is lesser than 2, okay, we're gonna show only the next. And if the step is equal to 2, we are also gonna be showing the submit, okay? So let us come back here, and I'm going to also paste the on submit. It's gonna make sense in a bit, okay? So the on submit, what it does is that it's gonna check the first and last name. If they are, one of them is empty, it's gonna set this error message. Same for the position, same for the location. And this on submit, like after all of this goes okay, is gonna call the endpoint. So here we are also gonna be needing the user that's coming from the authentication, okay? So we're gonna use authentication like so. And so we are gonna pass the first name, the last name, the company as part of URL params, okay? And we're gonna use a put request and send it. So if the response is okay, we're gonna get back the updated user and we're gonna set it. So we need to grab this one from the authentication as well, okay? And yeah, actually here we're not sending it, so we need to export this as well. So we're gonna say set user is going to be of this type. Import this from React. Also the dispatch. So the set here we're gonna pass it as well. So you might be wondering how I know actually the type to use here. I'm just actually cheating. I'm actually hovering on the set state that I'm getting here and just copying, okay, and pasting it here. Very simple. So let us come back to the profile here. So if all of this passes, we are gonna call this and then update the user. Otherwise, we're gonna grab the error message that's coming from the API and throw it and catch it here and set the error message, okay? Finally, we are going to navigate to the home page. So if we try to go to the home page and there was an error, the authentication context actually is going to redirect us back to this page, okay? So this one, we need it. It's going to be the navigate from use navigate, like so. So now, if I actually, like, let me type the first name, then my last name. So if you look here, when the step is 0, we're showing two inputs, like for the first name and the last name, okay? And we are showing only the next button. Since the step is 0, this condition won't pass, and also this condition won't pass. So we are only returning this button. And this button is disabled if one of the first and last name, like if we are on step 0 and one of the first and last name is not set, is also gonna be disabled if we are on a step 1 and one of the company and position is not set. Okay, so that's why if I actually remove one of these, it's gonna get disabled again. So let me put it back, come here. Now we are on step, step is equal to 1, so this condition is true and this condition is true, so we are showing these two. Okay, but this one is disabled because we are on step 1 and these are not set. Okay, so if I click back, the back is simply gonna actually take us, it's gonna decrement the step count. So let me add these two and then I can click on next. Okay, and when we come on this page, the step is going to be equal to 2. So this is going to be true and this is going to be false. So we are showing the submit button, and this submit button, when we click, is going to call our endpoint. Okay, so let me add this and we're going to submit it. But for now I'm not going to, because there is one thing that we should do, is that these two buttons actually, they should be next to each other. So for that we're going to need some style here. So we are saying that the inputs, they should have a display of grid and they should be next to each other. Okay, and same thing for the buttons, they should be one, they should be next to each other. Okay, and if we look at the profile again, when we are rendering this one, because since it's single, we're not wrapping it within this inputs component. Okay, so now if I fill in my location, and as I said in the beginning of the video, in upcoming videos we are going to make sure that the location is a valid one. For now we are trusting the user. So now if I click on submit, okay, so we are making a request to get the complete user with the profile complete, and we are able to access the home page. So if I make it bigger, we have the right data. Okay, but we don't have a image. This image, they are actually coming from the database. We have set them in the previous backend video, but here we don't have a way to upload an image. We will be doing it in upcoming videos. For now we're going to be needing a default profile picture. Okay, and I have grabbed one from the internet, so it's this one. It's called avatar.png, and this is the one that we should render when there isn't one. Actually, that's what we did from the beginning. From the beginning, every time we are rendering the image, we are saying if there is a picture, render it, otherwise use the one that's coming from the public folder. It's just that we didn't have it, so I just added this one. Now if I refresh the page, as you can see, we have a default image. Okay, so as you can see, we have built everything that we talked about in the beginning of the video. We have a very complete and professional LinkedIn-like feed. It's responsive, it adapts to bigger screens, we can comment, we can we can do all the things that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So in upcoming videos, we will be working on the network, on the jobs, on the messaging, on the notifications, so that when someone likes our post, we don't have to refresh it to see it. Okay, we want to have a notification. And also we're gonna make these numbers dynamic, and also this part we will be adding the logic to add someone to your network, but also just to follow it, we're able to do on the actual LinkedIn. We'll also be handling the image uploading, both for profile picture and also for the post. So there's a lot to discover, a lot to improve, and a lot to learn. But before, let us actually commit all of this. I'm gonna say git add, and we're gonna use the semantic commit messages like we did so far. So I'm actually gonna grab this one and modify it. Okay, we're gonna say git commit, and I'm gonna say the feed front end, like so, and I'm going to push it. So if we look here on GitHub, as you can see, the commit has passed and everything that we did is applied. Thank you so much, and let me know if you have anything to say to me, like in the comment section. If the video was helpful, please let me know as well via a comment or by liking it. Share it with your friends who are also maybe interested in these topics. Subscribe so that you don't miss the upcoming ones, and see you very soon. Thanks again.